Hello, Facebook world, and wherever you're watching from. Great to have you joining us here today. It's Monday afternoon. Welcome to the show live, and I'm your host, David Burrows. We're broadcasting live here from my studio here in Sarnia, Ontario, Canada. The reason I say that is because my following is kind of coming from all over the world these days, down in the United States and specifically in the United Kingdom and Australia as well. So, again, wherever you're watching from, great to have you joining us. And I've been asked a little bit, and in fact, one of my guests just asked me, "How am I enjoying the live thing?" You know what? I think it gets more attention, and it gets us. And the reason I want to get more attention is, it's always been about Sarnia-Lambton, and there's going to be a piece of this show that's always going to be about Sarnia-Lambton. But the purpose of going live and to give it a full hour is to give more time to things that need attention, and I want to take this opportunity to connect our community with other communities all around the globe, because sharing and collaborating together will help our communities grow, and we can certainly learn from each other, and that's the power of live streaming. So yes, while it can be challenging, live is good. Live is great. I guess that's I got to come up with a slogan. Live is great. So I am producing and pushing buttons at the same time, so sometimes if I'm not looking right at the screen, I'm not ignoring anybody, including my guests. It just means I'm trying to multitask. And I'm a man, so I have a hard time multitasking. So we switched things up a little bit. Normally, I would go right into talking about some events that are coming up in our community here of Sarnia-Lambton, but my first guest is on a very tight time frame, so I'm very grateful and very blessed that he's given us his time here tonight. Brian White, who is a local Sarnia City Councillor. We're going to bring him on board right now. Hello, Mr. White.
Hello, David. How are you, sir?
I'm doing fantastic, and thanks for being here.
Oh, well, thanks for having me. I really enjoy talking to you off the air as much as on the air, so it's always good to hang.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and I know you've got some things to get to. You're busy as always. I can certainly relate to that, and of course you got family and everything going on there too. But this caught my attention. I gotta find it. See, there I am already. I'm lost. There it is.
Oh, yeah,
This caught my attention. You were tweeting out this, and I know this is the. Pardon me, I didn't bring my water. The Lambton Mental Wellness Centre here in Sarnia is having an open house and a walk, and I actually caught this on one of your tweets, and. I know we talk a lot about mental health on my shows lately, but it just seems like the conversation needs to keep going, and it keeps showing up everywhere. And I know you've been a part of that world through some other local agencies as well.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. The conversation is never over, and I think at one point, probably about 6 months ago, I maybe erroneously came to the conclusion that we have been talking about it so much now that I think the stigma is finally settling, and it's time to engage in further action. But some experiences I've had over the last 6 months actually made me change my mind. So my bad. I think the stigma is still the top of the list of things to deal with. And I think the reason that is because of our day-to-day interactions with all different types of mental illness. There's so much that the word mental health encompasses, and that the factors that provoke different levels of mental illness are so wide-ranging that we really have to continue that conversation and start getting more into the details of that. So.
Yeah, well, I agree with you. I know, and I was kind of guilty too. I thought, am I talking too much about mental health? I mean, almost every show it comes into it somehow, and of course, trying to keep things fresh all the time. You have different things to talk about, but off camera, I've got to say, on a daily basis, it comes up in conversation or in life, or it's around every single day somewhere.
Yeah.
Whether that means I'm reading it or hearing, so I was one too that thought maybe the stigma is going away, and I'm sure it probably has, I guess, a little bit. I mean, nothing can't change without the conversation, but I was out the other day and I honestly heard some of those words that I don't like to hear when it comes to mental health, and that's crazy, freak, those stigma words.
Yeah.
And I just want to walk up to those people, quite honestly, and you know.
You know what? One of the I appreciate that because okay, so I break my arm, and I live with this for 3 months, in the end by the time I finish therapy, something like that. But that's a pretty easy thing for people to comprehend. So if I go to the grocery store, maybe one of the cashiers might help me bag my groceries without really saying a whole lot because they say maybe I need a hand. Okay, well that's cool. That's an easy one to get your brain around. And you say, well, you come to this realization, should we keep talking about this every day? And you think that maybe we do need to continue the conversation, as I've come to that realization, because it like you said, it's around us every day. No different than seeing somebody on crutches, no different than seeing somebody using a walker or using other kind of physical tools to help them remain mobile or active, and on and on and on. Right? I mean, it's a part of our health. It has to continue to be a regular part of the conversation and not just this fad that we've sort of globbed onto for the last 6 or so years. And then we think everybody's got it and we can just continue on because we don't got it. And to your point, one of the things that drives me nuts is living with in a house with lots of different versions of mental illness, different types, and the ways that they interact with each other. One of the ones that drives me crazy, and that's on me, it's not necessarily on people in my family, is OCD jokes. And people make OCD jokes all the time. And to them, there's nothing ill intended, but I'm still very sensitive to that because I see how much people suffer with that, including myself as a caregiver or as a partner in a relationship. I'm one of 4 in my household, and I'm the one that doesn't have it. So I see it every day and how much it affects people's lives. So I have a lot to learn as well to not be so sensitive so that I can maybe use it as a teaching moment, because right now what I want to do is shake people and say, that's not funny.
Yeah, I know. You hear, what do you, it's very, very specific, but, and I think it is just, isn't ill intended, like you say, but the language is out there. Right, so it becomes subconscious, right? If we're still hearing those words in that jesting way, I mean, and things have changed from words. I never liked that sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me. Really? Yeah. I don't buy that one. And we do have to. I mean, we back in public school, at least. I'm probably older than you, but eeny, meeny, miny, mo, catcha. Not anymore. And we used to do that when the teacher was standing right there, and it wasn't a problem. It wasn't an issue.
Yeah.
Right. And that's so it's similar here. We have to get rid of those words, and change the way we think. It's gotta. I always say, we used to say to our kids, you better change your attitude. I think we need to change our philosophies first, and then our attitude will change. Does that make sense?
No, absolutely does. And one of the things I think we're experiencing right now with that whole concept, we try not to use the R word anymore. We try not to say things like that's so gay, because those are hurtful things to say, and they're really inappropriate in any context, so we have to continue that conversation. And what we're seeing is a pushback now, because there's this whole anti-political correctness push to try and say, hey, stop being so sensitive, calling people snowflakes. I mean, it's ironic they're trying to get people to stop being sensitive by calling them names, but that
yeah.
That continues. That continues, and that's a current battle I think that we all have. But you're right. There's a need to continue the conversation and to change that philosophy, because whether you believe it or not, words have an impact on how you, most importantly, on how you see yourself. Because and having experienced it myself, if you're saying that to me, or if you're making just jest of something that I suffer with, then maybe it really is just me. Maybe I am the problem. And it does nothing for me to continue my journey of wellness, seeking acceptance in people and seeking accommodations in the world that's not necessarily made for somebody with my type of mental illness, or,
Right.
or my children's, or whomever I'm trying to advocate for.
Can we go too far? Can we, you'll hear sometimes, oh, everybody's got feelings and everybody's getting hurt and everybody's too sensitive, and I'm not just saying that about mental health. I'm just saying that, general, like there always seems to be something going on. We're changing words to our national anthem. We're like, how far do we go here? Like, I mean, they haven't taken the word God out of our national anthem, but that might be next. You know what I mean? Because what if you're not? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, can we be too sensitive?
Maybe, but I think what has to happen in those situations is, and this is why I said earlier, it's on me. So when I hear somebody making OCD jokes, nobody else in my family is offended by it, and they're the ones that suffer from it. I mean, I do by virtue of being in a relationship. So then that's on me to back down. So it's about their experience and not mine, and I have to take myself out of the equation. So if they are okay with it, then it's okay, because I don't need another battle. And I think that's what we need to do, is we need to continue that perspective journey, trying to continue to put ourselves in each other's shoes and trying to appreciate each other's perspective. I think that's the biggest roadblock right now with that. And this could be a whole other show, is that we have a lack of empathy at times for people. We simply want to tell them how they feel about things instead of listening to it, because it's inconvenient for us.
Well, yeah, no, that's a good point. You sort of led into what I was going to bring up next, which is we've all heard of the golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. But I've also found a rule years ago, and I've just seen it popping up. There's the platinum rule, and I forget the gentleman's name that come up with it. But the platinum rule is treat others how they want to be treated.
That's it.
Right? It's not do unto others, because we don't all want to be treated the same. I think the golden rule just means, hey, let's just be kind to each other. Wouldn't you like somebody to be nice to you? So be nice back. That's the golden rule. But the platinum rule is, what makes me feel happy might not make you feel happy. I'll be honest. I've used it, at least back in the 80s, we'd say, oh my goodness, that was so gay. Right? And all we mean by it is that was silly or funny. We didn't mean it in a sexual, offensive way. But I've been caught saying it. I'm just going to tell the truth. And I've gotten like, oh, how you can't say that? And I'm like, I don't mean it that way. Okay, but I'm offended by it. So you know what? I guess I can use that word at home.
And I'm the same way, Dave. I distinctly remember a moment in my life when I was 20. I remember the moment. I think I was 21. So it was with an old roommate of mine. We were no longer roommates, but I was visiting him near Toronto, and I made one of those comments that could be taken as a racial term, racially, negative. And again, it was completely just out of my mouth, and it wasn't directed at anybody or at anything in particular. It was just one of those casual things that people still unfortunately said back then. But he was so far ahead of me on this journey that he was such a good friend. He had no problem lacing into me, and boy, did he make me feel like I was about an inch tall.
Right.
And I learned from that, and I continue to learn, because I continue to use the wrong language. I continue to mean well and sometimes say things the wrong way. I think we're all going to do that. But in the case of mental health, this is why we continue to talk about this stuff, because of the deep, deep impacts, especially that it has on people who are suffering. Because we don't know what the reaction is. You could call somebody sensitive if they're running slow and they say, well, it's because I broke my ankle. okay. But if
Yeah.
if you make a joke about somebody's mental health, or they hear you making jokes about mental health and they suffer with that particular mental illness, that could have a whole other effect internally that we can't even measure. And we should be more aware and more sensitive of that.
Yeah. Brian, thanks for your time. I know you're very time sensitive here today. You've got places you got to be, so I do appreciate that. And thanks for sharing about the open house. I'll talk about that after you go, so everybody knows. But that's are you going to be around for that? Are you going to the open house, or are you doing a lot?
Yeah. I have one of those tough schedule things to work out tomorrow with my own daughter, an appointment. So I'm going to be there at the beginning for sure. I hope I can make it for the whole walk. It's a great event, and I've been looking. I actually haven't been to the center myself, so I'm looking forward to it as an opportunity to go and introduce myself and meet the folks that do.
Oh, fantastic!
Work there. Yeah,
I'm going to do my best to get down there too. So if I see you down there, buddy, we'll be sure to have. We'll carry on the conversation, and let's plan another show where we can give you a whole hour if we need to talk about some of the other stuff you mentioned in there too.
Awesome. Thank you so much, David.
All right, Brian, take care. Our friend Brian White, and also Sarnia City Councilor Brian White here joining us, talking about mental health and an ongoing conversation. And I'm just going to bring up here once again. So the Lambton Mental Wellness Centre is having an open house on Tuesday, March the 27th. So that's tomorrow. And it's from 5 till 7 p.m. And the walk begins at City Hall, and you can walk down to their address. We'll share this all on our Facebook page as well after the show as well, so you can have all this information. I just want to go to some comments out there. I see some friends that are joining us here. Hello, Corinder is out there as well. Corinder, I will be having people come on. I didn't have anybody come on for that because we were very time limited for our friend Brian White. But we will be opening up the lines, so to speak, in just a little bit. One of the things I forgot to ask Brian was, I've got an interview coming up tonight that is going to be interesting for Brian to probably watch. It involves the wrestling world. We'll stay tuned for that. How did the hockey finish up? Ha ha ha. You read my mind. We're actually going to be talking about some of that. That was our first community conversation here today with Brian White, again, talking about mental health and what's coming up. All right, well, let's talk hockey. Let's talk Sarnia Sting. Last week on the Friday, wow. It's really frustrating to watch the game when you've been there all year and you've seen what's happened out there with the Sarnia Sting and the different players, their ups and downs of the whole year. You kind of do a review in your head. They lost to Windsor 6-2 on Friday. Of course, this being the first round of playoffs for this season, and that was the first game in a best of 7 series with the Sarnia Sting playing against the Windsor Spitfire 6-2. And it was frustrating. It had to be frustrating for the Sting because to watch was frustrating. But then coming back on the next day, Saturday, it was really an odd game as well because the Sarnia Sting ended up with like 50 shots on goal. Don't quote me that number. It was about 50. By the end of first period, it was like 23 shots to their 3. And Windsor got the first goal. So the fans were frustrated. Sarnia Sting was, and they just played really, really hard. But I got to tell you, the Windsor goalie, he just constantly dances on his head. He's an absolutely amazing goalie. So the Sarnia Sting are going to have to get by him. They're going to be their biggest challenge. They did end up winning, though. The Sting turned it on and made it up to 2-1, and then finished things off with a couple empty net goals, making that a final score of 4-1. So currently that series tied at 1 apiece. And now the Sarnia Sting go on the road tomorrow night for Game 3 of the Sarnia Sting taking on the Windsor Spitfire. So hopefully we'll be watching. I won't be there for that, but I will be watching it online. And then we will be back Friday here in town at the Progressive Auto Sales Arena for another game, hopefully with some more positive things for that. So John Upton, thanks for joining us here, and thanks for asking. So I'm reading comments. Says David, did you know Twitch is part of YouTube now? I didn't know that. I saw people with game broadcast. No, I haven't. I didn't know they're a part of Twitch and YouTube are not partners, from my understanding. But we'll talk about that coming up. A few more things to talk about here. Of course, I mentioned it last week. We want to keep it fresh in your mind. The First Friday is coming up, April 1st Friday, and the Casuals will be down April 6th, First Friday, from 7 to 9 at Cheeky Monkey. First Friday, always fantastic. Get out and enjoy the music and culture in our city here. The Daffodil Dip is coming up on April 21st. That's in support of the Canadian Cancer Society chapter here in Sarnia-Lambton. You can get signed up for that. There's going to be live music and hot food as well. Oh, this is the one I am looking forward to, I have to tell you. River City Revenge Smash Wrestling is returning to Sarnia, coming up this Saturday night. And tonight, exclusively on here on the Video Show Network, and this is going to be an interesting one. Sebastian Suave is going to be online with me tonight at 7 o'clock. That's what I wanted to ask Councillor. I should have asked Councillor Brian White about that. There's going to be a whole list of matches coming up again this Saturday. It'll be at the River City Vineyard here on Saturday, starting at 7 o'clock. And special guest announcer, yours truly. I will be the guest ring announcer for the River City Revenge. Again, this Saturday, March the 31st at the River City Vineyard. You can get tickets there. Also, Philly Cheese Jake's, one of the sponsors in there as well. He'll have tickets. You can pick them up there. Smoke and Spices in there as well. Leaky Tank. And if you buy them in advance, you're going to save $5, make that clear. Whoa, $5 on the ticket price. Problem with live, right? $5 on the ticket price as opposed to buying them at the door. And I'm looking forward, I think, to being a part of this as a guest ring announcer. I just hope I don't get beat up or something, because Brian White, he made the choice to go in the ring to wrestle, and that's his broken wrist that he was talking about in there. So that is coming up. And again, tonight I will be interviewing Sebastian Suave, the wrestler here in Sarnia-Lambton, and that should be a fun interview as well. I didn't talk to him last time. Last time we talked to Anthony James, who was taking on Brian White, and Brian White unfortunately lost that wrestling match, and he broke his wrist, actually. That's what he was talking about earlier. So that's coming up. We'll have all this stuff after the show. I'll be posting it on our Facebook page and sharing more of that with you as well. So the Vineyard, Curinder, is here in Sarnia-Lambton. It's one of our local churches, I guess you could say, and a homeless shelter, and there's a big gymnasium in there and stuff. So it's quite a large facility. So that's where it's going to be happening here in Sarnia-Lambton. All right. Well, I'm a little bit early here, but my next guest is in the lobby and he's waiting. And, the music scene in Sarnia has been very popular for a long, long time, many, many years. So the music scene has changed over time. And there seems to be more and more venues. Well, we recently had some close here in Sarnia, and some are changing the way they think and promote local music. So we keep hearing, is there anywhere left to play? So my friend Harold Collins, who is a local musician as well, expressed an opinion or reached out to me saying, what's going on with this music scene here in Sarnia, and can we talk about it? So I said, absolutely, there's a concern. Let's talk about it. He's in the lobby. We're ready to bring him on right now. Hey, buddy, how's it going, Harold?
I'm good, Dave. How are you?
Fantastic. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this is important, right? I mean, this could be quite a conversation. We can talk about this for a while, and we've got lots of time. So I know you've been playing music for quite some time, and you and I met, probably a few years ago through the music scene.
Yep.
You're pretty active with your music and your bands, and but your concern now is that there's nowhere left to play because we saw, I guess we can say it. I found out. So the Campbell Street station's closed.
Yep.
Is it the pub or the Trinity? Are they done now?
I believe both. I actually was just reading something this morning about it, that it's been sold, but apparently the new owner intends to keep it as kind of a concert venue, but maybe just update it a little bit, but not sure what's going to happen with that.
So that's not necessarily a bad thing. If it's sold,
right.
It's going to be updated. Somebody's going to put some money into it. And
right.
But we have seen, and we see some venues that don't have the music anymore. We had a few others that, were around for a year or two, but you're just talking about like playing in the bar scene though, is that right?
Well, I guess anywhere in the area. I mean, we've got a plethora of musicians in Sarnia, both that play cover bands as well as original. I'm currently in a cover band / original. We're working on our own stuff right now, but yeah, I mean, there's limited places to play. I mean, Sarnia's great in that, we have in the nicer months, the summer months, we're surrounded by the water, and we have all these outdoor events and whatnot. I think it's tough for a band to really get out there and play. It seems like, if you're doing your own thing musically, as far as originals go, it's getting easier and easier for people to hear that. But for to play it live, I don't even know where to play anymore. And I've been actively playing in a band for the last 3 or so years. So,
right. Well, I mean, the reason I asked about like the bar scene, because there is a little bit less of that, but is there not still, like, I mean, we have the Sarnia Public Library, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is very accessible. It's got a fantastic sound system in there. We have the Imperial Theater. So I guess, and we do have outdoor opportunities, a lot of outdoor opportunities here in Sarnia.
Right.
So do we need to, or do musicians need to, put some work into it? I guess is what I would say. Do you need to go out and because I'm only saying that because there's a lot of people in our city who have there's a lot of risk involved, right? If you're going to put something on to make money, it's like a business. There's risk involved, and you got to promote it, and you got to build it, and you got to spend money.
Yep.
So I guess on what level you're looking for? You're looking for putting on a big show and you want to make some money, or at least cover your costs, or are you just looking to have a place to go on the weekend and jam?
Well, speaking personally, from the perspective of my band right now and what we're trying to do. So like I said, we're getting into originals, and we've been playing covers for the last, year or so, and prior to that as well. But I find that there's maybe, I guess what I should have said is there's maybe less places to play for original bands. There's still a venue in town. A local establishment that has cover bands every Saturday night, and that's going fairly strong. But even
where's that? Go ahead, you can tell.
Lizards.
Okay.
We've played Lizards many times, and they've been great to us. And but it's, I don't know. I think personally, I would like to see a place like that offer maybe one night a month, whether it be middle of the week or a Friday or a Saturday night, and you have a lineup of 3 original artists. There's a ton of original bands in Sarnia. I mean, there's I don't know a lot of them personally, but like I've recently
there is. I know. I agree with you. There's a long list for sure.
And it would be great to see something like that happen, because in London there's a couple bars that are doing that Wednesday nights. It's kind of like an indie night.
Okay.
I'm not sure if there's any pay involved for the band, but it's, you get up, there's 3 bands, you play probably half an hour to an hour set, and you do your thing. And I think as a musician, and I use that term loosely, but when you're doing your own stuff, you just want it to be heard. So trying to get out there to be heard is getting harder.
Yeah. So you're really just looking for the space.
I think so.
And of course an audience too. But I mean, what about Paddy Flaherty's though? I mean, they do a lot of independent stuff.
They do. I think it's a little bit tougher to get in there. They they're booking. I know they do have local acts play. I think they bring in a lot of out of town acts as well. Indie bands that are on tour or whatever. Recently we've started trying to reach out to other bands and do the whole like let's share a show type of thing, because there are so many spots, whether it's Lizards or wherever else, it might be easier to go that route. I do agree that we do have to put in work to to be heard and to get out there and play.
Well, and that's I mean, I agree with you about the whole indie scene and popular and the music scene promoted. I don't know if you know, but I put on something called Indie Fest a few years ago, and I did it for 4 years, and I had to stop doing it.
Why was that?
Nobody was coming out, and nobody wanted to spend the $10. $10. We had, I think, 3 or 4 bands a night. The first couple of years we did it that way. The first year we had 8 different nights. We had Bob Noxious down here, so the station was fantastic. They didn't charge us for the venue. Our sound man donated, so a lot of people donated.
Yeah.
We brought some big out of town bands. We had Blurred Vision played. They're from Toronto, and they wrote a song, a tribute to John Lennon, and they played. They were the only Canadian band to play at the Beatles Memorial in New York a few years ago, and we had them right here in Sarnia at the Station Music Hall for 60 people.
Wow, I know it is
and we promoted it, and it was on the radio and a whole bunch of stuff. So, I mean, it's awesome. And I think the other thing too is, and I'm just being very honest about all of this because I've been through it. Musicians have to support each other.
Absolutely.
And when I say support each other, I mean when you come to the door, you buy a ticket. You don't say, "Can I have a couple tickets to your show, and I'll give you a couple tickets to my show."
Right.
You pull out your wallet, you buy the ticket because you have to create a cash flow, right?
Right.
And spread that through and about, and that just has to happen. If the musicians aren't buying into it and they're not doing it, the rest of the world probably isn't going to either, right?
Right.
So there has to be a unity going on. The first year was fantastic. We actually had local involvement, and we had bands from London, Kitchener, Toronto. They all came down for this Indie Fest, right? Now that Indie Fest might have been the wrong name for it because I think a lot of people thought it was going to be like an all outside thing, and it wasn't. It was only partly. Right. So I mean, live and learn in marketing, right? But I think there's opportunity in Sarnia to do something for what you're talking about, but it's going to take some effort and it's going to take some organization, and like everything else, it's going to take some money.
Yeah.
Which that's where sponsors come from. But on the bar side of things, been a bar owner before. At the end of the day, the till has to ring.
Right.
And that's honestly what's most important, I would say, to the owner is they want to sell food and they want to sell booze.
Right.
So it has to be worthwhile. If you pay a band $400, say, to play in a venue, that establishment has to ring close to $1,300 in sales.
Right.
To get that $400 back. Because that $400 you hand out is profit. That's gone.
Right.
Sales, you have to do at least almost triple that to get it back,
right.
Just to break even.
Sure. But,
so I'm just throwing some perspectives out there from.
I get that.
Why it might be difficult in a bar, right? I'm not saying it's impossible, but that's why some people say, well, if you come in and do it for free, sure, no problem.
Yeah. Well, and generally that's the standard pay for a cover band playing, a local venue on a Saturday night. So. Yeah. Yeah, right. So the thing is, though, is if you want to bring people out and you have a cover band playing every Saturday night at the same location,
right? You
have to do. I think and I've never owned a bar, but I think as a bar owner, you have to also put in a little bit of work to say, hey, we want people to come out there. It has to go both ways there. Sure, the band should probably promote it because it's if you want people to come hear you, but at the same time, what are the?
Yeah, absolutely. It's got to be a two-sided coin, right? Like it's got to. No, absolutely, and it's got to be more honestly when you talk about bands and bar owners. It's got to be more than just Facebook.
Oh, I agree.
You can't just create an event. I see that so often. Create an event. Oh, I shared it on Facebook. Well, yeah, so what?
Some of the places we've played, like Lizards, I know when we first started playing there, it's not much, but they had a big billboard out front on a busy street. You know, the Bad Dog has done the same thing. They advertised it inside. But I mean, with social media, that's kind of almost everybody's on it, right? So it is an easy promotion. It's a free promotional tool as well. So, right. But yeah, I mean, like I think that going back to a bar making money, I mean, I think if there's enough interest where you're going to say, okay, we're going to have an original night, one night a month.
Yep.
I'm willing to say that if, as a musician, and I know there's a lot that don't agree with it, I would be willing to play for free if I get to spend an hour playing my own music. Where, you know what, if I make $10, great. If not, I don't really care at the end of the day. Because it's you know, it's music that maybe other people haven't heard before, so it's something new.
Yeah,
it's different when you're playing covers. You're playing someone else's music. I know I kind of want to be paid for that, but I think, I mean, like I said, I know of 2 establishments in London that do it weekly, and you know, maybe it's not packed every night they're doing it, but they're bringing in people. I don't know what the pay is or if there is any pay, but I definitely think there's a conversation to be had to go that route, you know, where a bar could be like, yeah, sure, come in and play. Specifics aside, you know, as far as, you know, who does sound or whatever, I've actually thought of myself approaching a couple of different establishments and offering to do it. Like, I have a pretty decent sound system, so I've been thinking about doing it. I just think there's a lot of good music in Sarnia. There's a ton of great musicians, but especially the last few months where we've been getting into originals and thinking, okay, once we're ready to start playing them, how are we gonna do this? And you know, I've been looking for original bands in Sarnia, and there's quite a few, and you know, I feel it's not really nurtured as much as it should be, because there are some pretty good ones, and you know, absolutely. There's a couple bands that have played with some bigger bands, and you know, I think we should hear more from them, whether you like their music or not. You know, it's great to go get out and support it.
Oh, so. Yeah, I mean, when I put on Indie Fest, I don't know if I should say, I didn't like every, you know, like, I'm just gonna say I didn't. Yeah. You know, the last couple of years we did Indie Fest, we turned it into like a battle of the bands of independent music, right?
Right.
You were allowed to play one cover, and the rest had to be all original, and that went really well, and it got a lot of attention, right? And then you know, and life changes too. My life was changing too, so I've often thought about going back to doing something like that. And you know, talking with you here today, I've been taking some notes. I've got a couple places in mind that we could let's get together the next step and have a coffee and share. I know one place for sure right now that would probably work well. We can talk about that for sure.
I would absolutely love to do that.
What time? Like, you're thinking like a Thursday night?
Well, whatever. I mean, you know, like again in London, I know it's Wednesday nights, but they're a bigger city, so you know, maybe that works better. But I don't see realistically why even a Friday or a Saturday night once a month wouldn't work. I believe there are a lot of people in town that like to go and check out live music and get into new bands and listen to original bands, because frankly, a lot of cover bands in town just play the same stuff over and over, you know. So if you miss, I mean,
that's you're right.
It's the nature of the beast. I mean, like, you know, I'm speaking from experience from playing in a cover band for almost the last 4 years, so I can speak on that and feel confident in saying that. We tried to not do it, and you know, we got you
don't play Mustang Sally, do you?
No. My good friend and bassist Justin Hayes, he loves that song, and he begged me to play it, but I refused to.
Well, you know what's funny about that is I can say that to any musician, young or ancient, and they all have the same reaction. They laugh about it. No way. No. But you know what's funny about that song and Brown Eyed Girl? If you play it, They
People
love it.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's one of those trade-offs. Like
I don't hear "Sweet Caroline" ever again.
I was just gonna say that song. I mean, like I personally hate that music, and I don't mean to offend anybody, but I don't like that music at all. But it's completely different when you're playing it and you got a dance floor full of people, right? The reaction.
Well, and that's just it. And if you're there to sell beer, because that's really what you're there for. I mean, to entertain, but I mean that gets people happy and buying some more beer.
I agree, but I still say it's very viable to be able to sell beer or food and have an original band in. And there's, I mean, I don't know. It's such a weird thing. And even with the bigger events that happen in the summer, I firmly believe that there should be some local original artists being brought into that. And I could be wrong. I don't go to every event. I've played a few of them. And I haven't seen it yet. I think we played Rib Fest last year at the
we had you there at Rib Fest.
And I think Dress to Kill, I'm not sure if they were doing any of their own material or not. Yep. But I mean, maybe that's one band that has, but I can, like there's a band, I'm not friends with them, but like That Dirty Racket, they're a great band. And,
they're awesome. They've been around a long time.
Yeah. And I would, I'd love to see a band like that up on a big stage for a little bit more exposure. So,
yeah. Well, we can talk about that too, for sure. I have my friend Corinder out here. He's from down in the States, and he's becoming a fan. He wants to know if you're on Instagram, or are you on Instagram?
I am. It's H_Collins37. It's mostly pictures of my dogs and my guitars.
There you go. H_Collins37. We got that up on the screen there. Corinder, that's for you, buddy, and anybody else who wants to follow Harold. And maybe you've got some ideas from your community where you're at on how things are working for independent music. Because again, I said I've felt this years ago, right? And that's when I started Indie Fest, and didn't quite work the way I wanted. But I mean, you got to try and you got to do, right? And maybe I was the wrong person to do it. I don't know. It could be a bunch of reasons why it didn't work.
No, I don't think so. I mean,
it could be the location. It could be like, who knows? But I think you do have to put a plan of action together, and you got to work at it, and you've got to get other musicians in on board on it. And everybody, I just came back from a tourism concert or conference down in Leamington. Leamington is about 24,000 people. And they have an incredible music scene going on down there. They have more than one independent brewery down there. It's awesome. Mm-hmm. And the reason that it works, and this is what I heard from more than one person that I traveled around for 2 days there. I asked the question, why does it work? And you know what? Every single 4 different people said the exact same thing before they knew I'd asked anybody else or I told them who I talked to. Collaboration.
Yeah, I agree.
They said it works because we all collaborate in this town. And that's what the conference was all about. Collaboration. We've all got to put our selfishness aside and go, this is all for the greater good. I mean, sooner or later, you got to get paid, but you got to start it somewhere. And there's certain places you get paid, and there's certain places you don't. I don't get paid for every MC thing I do or whatever. Some I do because my heart's attached to it.
Yeah, I've played quite a few gigs where I haven't got paid, and again, like it's not. I don't look at that as something I need to support myself. I have a job, so it's a hobby, but it's something I'm very passionate about, and getting more into playing. I'm my band. We're currently in the process of writing and recording right now, and I'm hoping we're going to debut some of our stuff in the summer. And it's just like we have a couple gigs booked. We haven't really pushed it, but I mean, it's like, well, where do we play? We have shared shows before. We did a show at the Trinity last year with 2 other bands, and I mean that was a really good tour. I believe you were there last February.
Yeah, and it's a great venue.
Yeah, it was a great turnout too, and it's sad to see the uncertainty of what's happening with it, but I do think realistically that's the way to go. It's just I don't know, a lot. I'm not sure how bands feel about sharing shows or whatever, but We've done it with another local band, Aces High. Speaking of which, those guys took it upon themselves to even, do their own festival out in Brights Grove, which is
yeah. I helped them. I had them on the show here, and I went out there and checked things out. We did a little live streaming, and it looks like they're probably going to do it again, right? So
yeah, from what I've heard, it's going to be a little bit bigger, and but I mean, I don't know. I'm willing to take on something myself, but it's not. I'm not going to go open a bar to do it. But well,
that's the thing too. And I come back to it. But a bar is a business,
right?
And the bottom line is the bottom line. The till at the end of the day has got to pay all the bills. And bar owners can be accused of being selfish. Well, they are. They're in the business. you know, doesn't mean they don't. I did karaoke for 20 some years. A lot of musicians hated me because they were like, "Oh, you're taking away." You know what? Like at the end of the day, it was all about the till. And there was probably not a bar. I used to do karaoke at Patty Flaherty's years ago on Wednesday night. The place was packed. You couldn't move.
Mm-hmm.
Could not move. I'm not even kidding. I would have 50 people on a list waiting to sing.
Yeah.
You couldn't get them all in to sing. They hated karaoke. The bartenders that worked hated karaoke. But they didn't mind counting it at they didn't mind counting the money at the end of the day. That's
I completely understand that. I just think it's it's nothing major, but I think it is a conversation that should be had because we have a lot of arts and entertainment in town that I think should be nurtured a little bit more. One place that I think is great with it is Cheeky Monkey. We played a First Friday event there, and Roland and Marianne were great to us, and things like that. I mean, like that's once a month. That and it was pretty busy, and not necessarily because we were playing, more so just because it was it's. I think things like that can happen. It just sometimes you do need to take a chance, and if there's no pay involved, maybe other. Yeah, I mean
that's 2 hours, and it's a great venue. You're going to have an audience. I think it's First Friday. People go into Cheeky Monkey First Friday to see what great deals they got on, but they got an audience that comes in that goes, I wonder who the band is, because your friends are going to show up for sure, but there's other people that go like, who's this band? I'm going to go check them out, right?
Yeah.
Like the Casuals are coming up there April. We talked about that. I've never heard these guys. I'll probably just go to check them out. So, it's a great spot, and it's great that they do it. And honestly, it works for both sides because they're trying to sell stuff too, right? So bring people in the door. It's an opportunity. So that's collaboration. That's win-win. And when we collaborate, sometimes there's somebody in that. I just had this conversation earlier today. Honestly, there's usually somebody somewhere in that circle breaks the chain. And then people get angry and upset, where what you need to do is just go, okay, so we don't have that person in our circle anymore. And they can go off and do their own thing. And we're just going to keep going here. And overall, at the end of the day, it will work better for everybody involved. It'll help your community. It'll create some positive vibes, if you will, in the community. You're going to meet other people, you network. There's only good that can come out of it, right? So, I mean, if you're willing to bring your equipment in and share drums, it shouldn't seem that difficult to do. But there is marketing, promotion, that stuff goes on. But there is more of an advantage here than now, even 4 years ago with social media. Social media has grown so much,
right?
That you can. And I am anxious to talk to you. We'll talk off camera, and we'll go have a coffee or a beer or whatever that looks like, and talk more, because I think it is important. Carinder requested you on Instagram, I guess. You can also Carinder, you can find him on Facebook.
Yeah, I'm on there.
It's Harold Collins, and then
my band, we were called the HJs, and we've recently changed that to Trendsetter, but I don't know how long that'll stick.
Okay. And you still have the three of you now?
Yeah, it's myself, Justin, who I've played with for quite a while now, and then his stepsister, Chloe.
Yeah, she's still drumming with you, eh?
She is. She's and she's still impressing us very much as well. So
she's a bit of a show off, isn't she?
I
mean that in a complimentary way.
Yeah. She's very quiet, but when she's playing, she's I think she impresses a lot of people, to be honest. So
yeah, I've heard talk about her, and of course George Hayes, I work with. He talks about them both all the time. So
yeah,
that's awesome. You got a friend, Steve and Rochelle Devlin, out there.
Oh yeah, my good buddy Steve Devlin.
He says, "What up, Harold? Great hat, bro."
Yeah, go blue.
There you go. Are you a hockey fan? Are you a Sting fan?
You know what? I am a hockey fan. I'm actually more of a football fan. I grew up playing that, right. But I don't really have any like professional teams I support. So like in football, I'm more of a college football guy than I am say NFL. And but I do follow the Sting quite a bit, and I used to go to quite a few games. I work shift now, so it's hard to make a lot of them. But I actually want to get some season tickets, so I might actually try and make it to the playoff game on Friday. Hopefully.
There you go. Go get your tickets. It's going to be a great game.
Yeah,
it's been an interesting series so far, for sure.
I know,
Harold.
Yeah,
thanks so much for joining me, Harold. I'm almost out of time. I got a few more things to talk about, but I was serious when the offer's out on the table. Reach out to me and let's go have a conversation and see what we can come up with, and hopefully we can have more of these conversations. I think I know this kind of came up last minute today, so maybe we can plan another live show where we can get some more musicians on,
sure,
and have everybody have a conversation and get the public involved and see. But this is the first step, right?
I agree.
Awesome, Harold. Enjoy the rest of your day, buddy. Keep the music going, and we'll talk very, very soon. Okay.
Thanks. Have a good one.
All right. Bye. Yeah, Harold Collins here, a friend of mine, musician friend of mine. I'm not a musician, but I know lots of musicians. So I know he's very passionate about the music in Sarnia-Lambton and his music period. And I understand where he's coming from with his concerns of having a place to play. And I tried to give a little different perspective too on, well, you got to look at both sides of the coin. And I know Harold has considered all of that. And I don't think he's looking to make $1 million at playing his music. He just wants to play, and he wants people to come out and appreciate it. And let's have something a little bit different. And I get that. And it sounds like it should be really simple to do, but it takes some work and effort. But I know Harold and some of his friends are willing to put that effort in as well. And Corinder's asking, are you new to live streaming? And I think Harold knows about live streaming, and that's one of my ideas. Is maybe we put something together in a venue and we live stream it so people can watch from home. Yeah, we want people to come out, but maybe if they watch the live stream, they go, hey, that looks like fun. Maybe I'll head down there, and we create a buzz. I'm willing to help with that too. So we'll see what happens. Corinder, thank you for joining me as well. I've got just a few minutes left. I just want to do a reminder here. Once again, this Saturday, I will be at Smash Wrestling, a River City Revenge at the River City Vineyard, and I've been asked to be the guest ring announcer for the evening. So go get your tickets. I don't know what's going to happen that night, but I do know that Sebastian Suave is going to be on with me tonight on the Video Show Network page, talking to me about the upcoming matches he's involved with. And it's going to be fun, interesting. That's 7 o'clock tonight. I'll be interviewing Sebastian Suave. Yeah. I just never know where those kind of interviews are going to go. I did a wrestling interview, last month, and I just never knew what was going to happen. Something I do want to talk about too, and I'm just looking for it. This is where I'm multitasking, and I'm a little lost here. Where are we? And doesn't want to work for me. Well, then I guess that's where I just have to make stuff up, right? Okay, well, that's the thing about being live, is you just do what you got to do. But I'm thankful for all of you for coming out and watching here today. And just before we go, I want to give a shout out to some of my friends who I know are probably watching. They asked me to wear purple, and the reason I'm wearing purple today is it is World Epilepsy Awareness Day. Do you know what epilepsy is? Have you heard of epilepsy, or maybe heard about it? Do you know about 1 in 26 people will likely be affected by epilepsy at some point in their life. Some will carry it throughout their entire life. Some will have it and it will outgrow it. And I myself have been one of those people. I had epilepsy at the age of 5. They discovered it, and then I took about 10 pills a day for a while up till about the age of 14. I was able to outgrow epilepsy, but that is not most cases. But it is a case that is becoming more and more common because of support. So if you want to find out more about Epilepsy World Day, you can go to epilepsy.org to get more information about Purple Day. It is also called Purple Day. PurpleDay.org is a place to go. Purple Day was actually started by a young lady and her mom, Cassidy Megan. She's 16 years old, started Purple Day back in 2008. And she just wants the world to know about epilepsy so that we can have an understanding, right? And that's how we begin doing those kind of things. So check that out, purpleday.org, and also there it is. Whoops, there it is again, epilepsy.org to find out more information. That's why I'm wearing purple today. You can also, if you go over to my personal profile, David Burrows on Facebook, and you see my profile picture with the epilepsy awareness frame, you can try that and make that your frame for the day as well. You know how to do that stuff if you're on Facebook. So it is important, and we're probably going to have some folks coming up on a future show where we'll talk about epilepsy and create some more awareness about that as well. I will be back again next week, and I'm still experimenting with the live, different platforms. This is BeLive.tv, and I'm very grateful for them. Whether we'll use this again next week or not, I'm not sure. If you want to be on the show, send me a message on Facebook, wherever you can reach me. If you're watching me, you know how to find me, and tell me your story. I'd love to be able to share anything positive is what we want to talk about here on the show every week. So appreciate you doing that. So thanks everybody for watching. There's going to be, again, some other things coming up later this week you want to keep an eye on. Of course, we will be back to see the Sarnia Sting on Friday at the Progressive Auto Sales Arena, hopefully with some good news from that. We'll be broadcasting live from our Video Show Network page at TVSN World. So that's all the time I got for you this week. Have a great week and an even better weekend. I will see you next time right here on the live show. Bye-bye for now.